Please don't murmur. 250. What were you doing? Why are you talking? In the previous class, we represented the discrete time signal graphically, and we represented the discrete time signal as a mathematical function, and then we represented the discrete time signal as a sequence of numbers. That's why the discrete time signal is also called as discrete time sequence. As the discrete time signal can be represented as the sequence of numbers, that can be called as the discrete time sequence. And this is the tabular representation. And we consider, yes, okay. So this is the tabular representation of the discrete time signal that we consider. Okay. So here we considered an example sequence x of n equivalent to 1 by 2 power n for n greater than or equivalent to 0, 0 for n less than 0. So the graphical representation of this particular sequence can be this one. Okay. So here it is an example of an infinite duration sequence, and this is also an example of a right-sided sequence. In the previous class, we see the difference between the right-sided sequence and left-sided sequence, and we consider the difference between a finite duration sequence and the infinite duration sequence. Alright, if the signal has finite number of non-zero samples, okay, the discrete time signal has finite number of non-zero samples, then it is called as a finite duration sequence. Okay. So the finite duration sequence may be one-sided, that is the right-sided, may be left-sided, or it may be two-sided. Similarly, if the duration of the sequence is of infinite length, then that type of sequence is called as an infinite duration sequence. In the case of infinite duration sequence also, the sequence may be right-sided, left-sided, or it may be two-sided. Okay. So now we consider a sinusoidal sequence. So discrete time sinusoid. So that can be obtained by sampling the continuous time sinusoid. If you let x of t is equivalent to sine 2 pi f naught t is the sinusoidal signal, continuous time domain, or it is the continuous time signal. So we can obtain its discrete time equivalent by simply sampling the continuous time signal at an equal intervals of time. Okay. So that Tf is called the sampling period, and n can take the integer values from minus infinity to plus infinity. So here n is equivalent to 0, plus or minus 1, plus or minus 2, and so on. Is that right? Then the resultant signal x of n can be written as sine, so 2 pi f naught into, we are replacing t with nts. Okay. So therefore 2 pi f naught into nts for n equivalent to these ones. So here this can also be written as getting sine omega naught into n into t. Okay. Is it clear? because that omega naught is the angular frequency which is equivalent to 2 pi f. Now we define another frequency called as omega naught, which is equivalent to small omega naught into Ts. Here what is Ts? Ts is a constant, is it? And it is the spacing between the samples. Normally we assume the sampling is uniform sampling, so this Ts can be assumed as some constant value. Okay. Then it is omega naught, which is a frequency variable. Okay. It is the analog frequency, and this capital omega naught is called as the digital frequency. So this is the digital frequency. What are the units here? The radians. Therefore, this x of n can be written as sine omega naught into n. So this is the discrete times equivalent of the continuous time signal that we consider. Follow it. So here we already know that this small omega naught can be written as 2 pi by T naught. Okay, where T naught is the fundamental period of the sinusoid that we consider. In the same manner, this capital omega naught can also be written as 2 pi divided by n naught. Okay. Follow? As the angular frequency omega naught can be written as 2 pi by T naught. Okay, this capital omega naught can also be written as 2 pi by n naught. Is it? Where this n naught is called as the period of x of n. What about capital T naught? This is the period, fundamental period of the continuous time signal x of n. Is it? In the same manner, if you define this capital N naught is the period, then this capital omega naught can be written as 2 pi by n naught. Okay. So what will be the n naught value? If you compare or you substitute this value here, okay, omega naught is 2 pi by n naught here, and you compare the two, then you can relate the small omega naught Ts and the n naught values. Okay. Otherwise, this can also be written as sine 2 pi divided by n naught into n. Is it? See, what about this 1 by n naught? So this 1 by n naught is the frequency. The reciprocal of the period is the frequency. Okay. So this is the digital frequency. Actually, the digital frequency in radians, and this is the digital frequency. What is the unit here? What about this n naught value? This n naught should be an integer value. Why? Because the discrete time signal is defined only at discrete values of n. Okay. So therefore, the small n should take only the discrete values. What is the condition for periodicity of a function? X of t is said to be periodic if this condition is satisfied. X of t plus t naught. In the same manner, this x of n is said to be periodic if x of n equivalent to x of n plus capital N naught. Okay. Where that capital N naught should be an integer. Why? Because the small n is an integer. If the capital N naught is not integer, what will happen? The index will become a non-integer value. But the discrete time signal is defined only at integer values of n. So that's why this n should be an integer here. In this case, in the case of discrete time signal, the capital N naught, the period of the signal must be an integer. Okay. Why? Because what do you mean by x of n plus n naught? This is a shifted version. Okay. X of n plus 1. What is the difference between x of n and x of n plus 1? X of n is the given signal, x of n plus 1 is the shifted version. Okay. X of n minus 1 is also the shifted version. x of n minus 1 is called the right shifted one, x of n plus 1 is the left shifted signal. Here, in the case of discrete time signal, the period must be an integer. Okay. So therefore, this n naught an integer and it has no units. Is it? But the angular frequency in the digital domain has the units of rate. Is it clear to you? So this is the way of representing a discrete time sinusoid, sine 2 pi by n naught into n. So this 1 by n naught can be written as f naught. See here, small f naught is equivalent to 1 by t naught. Is it? See the analogy between analog and digital domain. Okay. There, the notation is slightly different. Okay. So 1 by t naught is equivalent to f naught, small f naught. Here, 1 by n naught is the capital F naught. Is it clear? So therefore, can I write this as sine 2 pi into f naught into n, 1 by n naught equivalent to f. Therefore, sine 2 pi f naught n. See this equation and this equation. Now, both are in the same form. Okay. This is sine 2 pi f naught t and this is sine 2 pi f naught n, where the small f naught is the analog frequency and the capital F naught is the digital frequency. And this x of t is the continuous time signal, x of n is the discrete time signal. Understood? Nothing is there. We sample the signal and we define some new variables. Okay. So this capital omega naught, this is the digital frequency in radian, which is equivalent to analog frequency omega naught multiplied with t. Okay. So this result is very, very important because in the future classes also we use this relation. Okay. The relationship between the digital frequency and the analog frequency. Is it clear to you? So this is an example, or this is a fundamental signal called as a sinusoidal signal, okay, which is obtained by sampling the continuous time sinusoid. Is it clear to you? So similarly, we can consider an exponential sequence. See, here we sampled a continuous time sinusoid and obtained the discrete time sinusoidal sequence. Is it? So can we directly generate the discrete time sinusoid? Can we directly generate the discrete time sinusoid instead of sampling the continuous time signal and producing the discrete time signal, discrete time sinusoid? Can we directly generate the discrete time sinusoid? Is it possible? See how we generate the continuous time sinusoid. How we generate the sinusoidal signal in the lab. How we generate the sinusoidal signal. How can we generate a sinusoidal signal? Oscillator. Okay. By using a sinusoidal oscillator, we can generate. Similarly, if you use a digital oscillator, okay, we can generate a discrete time sinusoid. A discrete time sinusoidal signal. Okay. But in the previous case, what we have done, we considered a continuous time signal and sampled it at an equivalent of time t. Okay, to obtain its discrete time equivalent. So that process is called as the discretization or the process of sampling. Understood? So x of n is equivalent to, yes, e power j omega naught n is an example of a discrete time sequence called as exponential sequence. So R is a complex exponential sequence. It is a complex exponential sequence. So this can also be written as, where this omega naught is the frequency, fundamental frequency of the exponential sequence, complex exponential sequence, and this can be written as e power j 2 pi by n naught into n. With the assumption that this omega naught is equivalent to 2 pi divided by n naught. Now the same sequence can also be written as cos omega naught n plus j sin omega naught n. So therefore this particular sequence has the real part and the imaginary part, because it is a complex sequence. So this is an example of a complex sequence. See, the signal that we consider, the sinusoid, is a real signal. Is it? The discrete time signal that we considered in the previous case is the discrete time signal, and it is a real discrete time signal. This is an example of a complex signal. Okay. So how you represent a complex signal? The complex signal can be represented by its real part and imaginary, or otherwise take the magnitude mod x of n. What is mod x of n here? Under root cos square omega naught n plus sin square omega, and angle is tan inverse something, that is, it is angle is directly you can get omega naught n. Is it? Otherwise you can use the real part and imaginary part to represent this. Is it clear? The real part of this complex exponential sequence is equivalent to the cos omega naught n, and the imaginary part is sin omega naught. So therefore you can plot the two sequences, okay, cos omega naught n and sin omega naught n, which represent the real part and imaginary parts of the complex sinusoid e power j omega naught. And this may have amplitude also. Okay, for example, if you write it in the amplitude phase form, okay, you can write some a here, a e power j omega naught n. That a is the amplitude and omega naught n is the phase. That is, you can write in this form, a e power j theta form. A is the amplitude and theta is the phase. Okay. And if you consider the two sequences, both are the examples of the two signals are the examples of periodic signals. Why? Because they satisfy the principle of, or they satisfy the periodicity property. Okay. So if you let x of n is a discrete time signal, x of n is said to be periodic if x of n is equivalent to x of n plus n naught for all n, where the smallest possible value that satisfies this condition, the smallest possible value of capital N naught that satisfies this condition is called as the fundamental period, okay, or the period of x of n. So that is the condition for periodicity of the discrete time sequence. Yes, please keep quiet. Are you following? The signal is said to be periodic if this condition is satisfied, okay, for all values of n. So in the case of discrete time signal, this n naught must be an integer, and the smallest possible value that satisfies this condition is called as the fundamental period of the discrete time signal. Okay, and the reciprocal of it is the fundamental period. Is it clear? So if you consider this cos omega naught n, is it periodic? Is it periodic? When it will be periodic? See? So to verify it, you simply replace this n with n plus n naught. Okay. Then this is equivalent to cos omega naught n plus omega naught into n naught. So if you let this omega naught into n naught is equivalent to integer multiple of 2 pi. Is it? If omega naught into n naught is integer multiple of 2 pi, then this will be equivalent to, so if this condition is satisfied, then cos omega naught of n plus n naught is equivalent to cos omega naught n. Is it right? Is it clear to you? If this condition is satisfied, simply replace this here. Okay. Then what you will get? Cos theta plus 2 pi k. Cos theta plus 2 pi k is equivalent to cos theta. Therefore, if omega naught into n naught is an integer multiple of 2 pi, then this is period. Otherwise, it is not period. What about this? Is it periodic? You check it. Is it periodic? See, these are the mathematical fundamentals, okay, that we already know. Is it periodic? See, this particular cos omega naught n is periodic when this condition is satisfied. Okay, and what is the fundamental period? Fundamental period is the capital N naught. Okay. If this condition is satisfied, then only it will be periodic. Otherwise, it is not periodic. What about this? Is it periodic? E power j 2 pi by n naught into n, or e power j omega naught n. Simply replace n with n plus n naught. Will it be periodic? If it is periodic, what is the condition for periodic? So obviously this is also periodic. Is it? The complex exponential sequence also a periodic sequence. When? What is the condition? What is the condition for periodic? You please try it. So now we consider one more fundamental sequence. It's a very fundamental sequence. Actually, it is a mathematically idealized function, so which has very much used in the analysis of discrete time signals and systems. Okay? So that is the unit impulse sequence. Unit impulse sequence, or is also called as unit sample sequence. Both are same. Unit impulse sequence or unit sample sequence. So this is denoted as delta of n and defined as delta of n equivalent to 1 for n equivalent to 0 and 0 for n not equivalent to 0. And if you plot this as a function of n, this is x of n and this is n. Here it is 0, 1, 2 and so on. This is minus 1, minus 2. See, when n equivalent to 0, delta of n equivalent to 1. Here, instead of writing it as x of n, we write it as delta n. Delta of n is equivalent to 1 at n equivalent to 0 and 0 otherwise for all values of n. So it will continue like this. These zeros will continue. So those dots indicate it is 0 for remaining values of n. See, the main significance of this particular unit impulse function is, if you have a discrete time sequence or any arbitrary discrete time sequence can be represented in terms of unit impulse function. Okay, that we will see later. How can we represent an arbitrary discrete time signal in terms of unit sample function or unit impulse function. Here, the definition of discrete time unit impulse function is somewhat very simple. But if you consider the continuous time domain, here we define it as delta of t is equivalent to 0 for t not equivalent to 0. Is it? The continuous time domain, the impulse function is defined as delta of t equivalent to 0 for t not equivalent to 0. That is, the impulse function exists only at t equivalent to 0. For remaining all values, that is, for t not equivalent to 0, the delta of t equivalent to 0. And integral minus infinity to plus infinity delta of t dt is equivalent to, what is the area under unit impulse function? 1. So here this is the definition of the unit impulse function in the continuous time domain. In the continuous time domain, the definition of unit impulse function is somewhat difficult, because we need to use these two equations to define the impulse function in the continuous time domain. Okay, delta of t is equivalent to 0 for t not equivalent to 0. That is, the impulse function exists only at t equivalent to 0. Okay. And the area under unit impulse function is equivalent to 1. But in the case of discrete time domain, the discrete time impulse function is simply defined as delta of n equivalent to 1 for n equivalent to 0 and 0 for n not equivalent to 0. Understood? What about this delta of n minus n naught? Yes. Comment. So we are generalizing this. Delta of n minus n naught is equivalent to 1 for n equivalent to n naught. This is 0 for n not equivalent to n. For example, if you substitute n not equivalent to 0, if n not equivalent to 0, you will get this. If n not is 0, delta of n equivalent to 1 for n equivalent to 0, 0 for n not equivalent to 0. So this is a more generalized definition of the unit impulse. That is, if you represent this, this is n. So delta of n minus n naught. So here, delta of n minus n naught is equivalent to 1 at n equivalent to n. So based on whether n naught is positive or negative, okay, so this may be this side or this side. Okay. So if n naught is positive, this will be somewhere here, okay, positive side. If n naught is negative, somewhere here, okay, negative. Understood? So this is the way of representing the discrete time unit impulse function or unit sample function. Is it clear to you? Similarly, we have one more mathematically idealized function, which also has a lot many uses in the analysis of linear time invariant systems or linear systems. Okay. So that is the unit step sequence. That is, if you take a continuous time unit step function, take the unit step function, sample it, we will get the unit step sequence. Follow? So this is defined as u of n equivalent to 1 for n greater than or equivalent to 0, and this is 0 for n less than 0. So if you plot this, this is n, this is the u of n unit step sequence, and this is 0, this is 1, 2, 3, so 4, 5, 6, and so on. This may be minus 1. this is equivalent to 1. This is also 1. Function value is 1 for all values of n that are greater than or equivalent to 0. So it will continue like this up to infinity. And this is 0 for n less than 0. So remaining all values are zeros. Is it clear? So in the more general form, this can also be written as u of n minus n naught is equivalent to 1 for n greater than or equivalent to n naught, and 0 for n less than n naught. So if you substitute small n naught equivalent to 0 here, you will get this. Now we try to relate this u of n and the delta of n. So if you consider the first sample, what this indicates, the first sample, can I write that as delta of n? What about the second one? Delta of n minus 1. Is it? Because delta of n minus 1 exists at n equivalent to 1. Okay. And this is delta of n minus 2. Okay. Therefore, can I write this u of n as u of n is equivalent to sigma some k equivalent to 0 to infinity delta of n minus k. Is it right? See, when k equivalent to 0, what you will get? Delta of n, this one. Okay. When k equivalent to 1, delta of n minus 1. When k equivalent to 2, delta of n minus 2. Is it? Therefore, u of n is equivalent to sigma k equivalent to 0 to infinity delta of n minus 1 is the relationship between unit impulse function and the unit step function. In the continuous time domain, u of t is equivalent to integral delta function, delta tau t. So what is the relationship between delta of t and unit step? The delta of t equivalent to dE of t dt. Is it the differentiation of unit step is equivalent to unit impulse? Have you studied that? The relationship between impulse and unit step. So unit step is the integral of delta function. The unit impulse, unit step and unit ramp are called as the singularity function. These three are related to each other. Is it? Unit step, unit impulse and unit ramp function are related functions. The functions that are related to unit step function are called as singularity functions. Or the forcing function with discontinuity or derivatives of discontinuity are also called as singularity functions. So that's why the unit impulse function, unit step function and unit ramp are called as the singularity functions. These three are the mathematically idealized functions which are used for the analysis of linear systems. I think you might have studied the linear systems and obtained the impulse response, step response, okay, or the response of the system for the ramp, the same functions, and here the independent variable is n, which is taking only a discrete set of values. That is the difference. We analyze the linear systems in the continuous time domain. So here in this course we are going to analyze the discrete time linear system. Okay. So for that purpose we need to use some mathematically idealized function like unit step, unit impulse and unit ramp function. Is it clear to you? So this is the relationship between or if you know the unit impulse, you can find the unit step function. Now I try to draw one more function and I call it as u of n minus 1. How u of n minus 1 will look like? See, what is u of n minus 1? U of n minus 1 is equivalent to 1 for n greater than or equivalent to 1. Okay? And 0 for n less than 1. So therefore, for n greater than or equivalent to 1, that is here, for all these values of n, the function is, what about this? This is 0. This is also 0. See, u of n minus 1 is equivalent to 1 for n greater than or equivalent to 1 and 0 for n less than 1. Is it clear? Now, if you subtract these two, or if you subtract this from this, what will you get? What will you get? That is u of n minus u of n minus 1. What will you get? This is 0, 1, 2, so minus 1. See, here it will be equivalent to 1 because 1 minus 0 is 1. See, this is 1 minus 1, 0, and 0 minus 0, all are 0, except this. This is 0, this is also 0, this is also 0. So what this indicates? This indicates delta of. So therefore, can I write delta of n is equivalent to u of n minus u of n minus 1. So these two relations are very, very important. See, the difference of u of n and u of n minus 1 is equivalent to delta of n. And the summation of this sigma k equivalent to 0 to infinity delta of n minus k equivalent to u of n. See, integral in the discrete time domain is equivalent to summation. In the continuous time domain, u of t is equivalent to integral of delta of t. Okay. What is the equivalent of integration? The summation. So that's why see the first equation. U of n equivalent to summation of delta of n minus 1. The second equation, delta of n equivalent to u of n minus u of n minus 1. We already know that delta of t is equivalent to du of t dt. There is the differentiation of unit step is equivalent to unit impulse. Here the differentiation is analogous to the difference. U of n minus u of n minus 1 equivalent to delta. You already know it. Okay. Differentiation is nothing but difference. Integration is nothing but summation. Is it clear to you? Similarly, we have unit ramp. How you define it? So this is denoted as R of n, that is equivalent to n for n greater than or equivalent to 0, and that is 0 for n less than 0. or otherwise can I write this as R of n is equivalent to n u of n? Is it right? Can I write in this way? Because u of n equivalent to 1 for n greater than or equal to 0, 0 for n less than 0. So therefore, instead of writing two equations, R of n equivalent to n for n greater than or equal to 0 and 0 for n less than 0, we can directly write this R of n as n u of n. Plot it. This is n. This is the ramp function R of n, and these are the n values. So n takes only discrete values, okay? Integer values, 5, 6, and so on. See, when n equal to 0, what is R of n? 0. Is it? When n equal to 1, is 1. When n equal to 2, this is 2. And when n equal to 3, this is 3. So it will continue like this. This will be 4. So it is linearly increasing. Okay. It is an unbounded thing because its magnitude go on increasing forever. So this is the graphical representation of the unit ramp sequence, and this is the functional representation of the ramp sequence. Is it clear to you? So we will continue in the next class.